Hello, YouTube. My name's Durs Larson, also known as BratWurstNkraut. Um, so pretty much, I just wanted to make a video, kind of explain who I am, how I've gotten to where I'm at. Um, Pretty much, I streamed exclusively on Twitch. Uh, Hit it pretty hard in about 2019 until I started having children with my beautiful wife. Um, and then everything changes once you have kids. Everything about your life changes. So streaming kind of went to the wayside. I'd stream maybe once or twice a year. I mostly did Pokemon openings, TCG Online. I would do some other random games. It was just to do it when I, was playing something. It wasn't anything like I wasn't set on one game or piece of content to focus on. So I just did it to do it. Um, but now my oldest is 3, my youngest is 1. Um, and so I've battled with myself for the last few years. Like, I want to continue to stream. I'm not going to have the time for it as much as I would like. But there's something about the way that my mindset is that I think now is the right time to actually start this YouTube channel and actually updating it and putting things on it uh, every few days, weekly, whenever I do have time. And I've been wanting to do, actually put stuff on my YouTube channel for the last few years, and I kept finding excuses to not. Um, but now it just felt like the right time. Um, so with that being said, a little bit about myself. Um, Career wise, I'm not going to say what I do for a living. Um, it's a very mentally taxing job. At times, can be physically demanding, but mostly it's the mental aspect that really, you know, it's important to leave it at work. Lately, I've had a really hard time of doing that. So my main focus has been on my kids and stuff here at home. But what made me believe that now is the time to, launch my YouTube channel is pretty much, I need a place where I can escape. I do have some friends that I've made through the Twitch community, and I swear to God, if my camera does this one more time, I'm going to get a new one. But um, there are a couple communities that I've made some really good friends. I'm not going to list them in this video, but at some point in time, I will be bringing them up, and they know who they are. They know who they are. They've been with me for the last 6 years, and they are very important friends to me. But back to what I want for this channel is I want it to be a place where we can all come together, enjoy our favorite games, uh, and just be together and not think about what's going on outside of your office, or you're in your car on your phone, or you're laying in bed late at night and you're going down a YouTube rabbit hole and you're just flipping through shorts or whatever. I want it to be a place where we can all just kind of forget about the stuff that drags us down, because mental health is very important. Keeping yourself in the mindset of everything isn't helpless. Everything works out, giving us something else to concentrate on other than what is going on in our own lives. A little bit of an escape, not only for those that will come into the community, but for myself as well. And I love meeting new people. I love making new friends. I've always been a very social person. I do have my times where I like to go into my office and just turn everything off, turn the phone off, enjoy some time to myself. But for 90% of the time, I am somebody that wants interaction with others. Um, so another factor in why it took me a long time to make the decision to start putting stuff on YouTube was I deal with a lot of health issues. Um, I suffer from an autoimmune disease called sarcoidosis, which is when your body attacks um, a certain organ in your body. Um, for my specific case, it attacks my eyes. So for the last 13 years, um, I've had to use immunosuppressants, steroids, different eye drops. I've had 5 different surgeries on my eyes. I still see 20/20. It's not crystal clear. It's pretty good, but it's not. Um, with the use of immunosuppressants and steroids, everybody knows that it makes you gain weight. In high school and college, I was around 175, 180 pounds until 2012, which would have been my going into my last semester of college. And they put me on steroids. Within 3 months, I was up 40 pounds. And I was on them for about 5 years. And at that point in time, I had gotten up to about 285 pounds. I wasn't feeling like myself, but they finally, called it, I was in remission. So they took me off the steroids. I dieted. I did all that stuff. Got down to about 245 or so. And then at that point, um, my wife and I, who actually went to high school together, ended up reconnecting. And uh, pretty soon after that, I knew I was done playing around. I wanted to settle down, uh, start a family. I was already at this point. I was 27, and I've always kind of had it in the back of my head. If I don't have any children by 35, then I'm not going to have any. So we got married, but the month before our wedding, uh, I had a flare up of my sarcoidosis, and I got put on steroids. And the 4 weeks leading up to our wedding, I gained 45 pounds, and my tux didn't fit. They had to overnight it and bring me another one, and it was just a mess. Uh, Fast forward another year and a half, and COVID hits, and COVID just changed everything about everything on the outside. I feel like it's changed a lot of us mentally. Um, and you know what we all pretty much did is we sat at home, we played video games, and we ate and indulged in other things. And probably about a couple years, 2022 is when I hit my heaviest at about 365. No diets worked. Being on the steroids, it it pretty much does not matter what you do, whether you change the foods you eat, the things you drink. Uh, it pretty much just it doesn't care. Luckily, um, about a year later, I I finally lobbied and they got me on some different meds. Because at that point, the immunosuppressant that they had put me on um, was killing my liver. So we had to find something different. They took me off the steroids. Um, they put me on a different medication. I tweaked my diet again, and then finally, once my liver got healthy again, all the weight just came off. Um, so that was about March of 24. Today is July 2nd of 25, and I have lost 182 pounds. I'm down to 185. Basically, you take all the excess skin that I have off, and I'm the size I was in high school. It's absolutely nuts that in 15 months that this can happen. I didn't want to lose all that weight this quickly, but my body just said, "Okay, bye." So the channel is not going to be about weight loss or anything. I'm not going to post any before and after pictures. If those of you would like to see progress pictures, I didn't really take any, but just to kind of get a sense of how big I was to what I am now, it's pretty amazing. But the healthiest way to lose weight is, of course, slowly. But my body decided that that was not in the cards. But I feel a lot better. I deal with exhaustion a lot. I am tired all the time, and that's just sarcoidosis. When your body is attacking itself, you're gonna be tired, and so I deal with that a lot. I try not to drink caffeine because not this past January, but the January before, we doctors don't know what happened, but my heart was doing all some weird stuff, and I was like, okay, well, we're palpitations out the wazoo. So I said, no more caffeine then, and I'll only have caffeine on my days off. I'll have a couple zero sugar pops or whatever. Um, so I guess I can't even remember what I was gonna say. And I'm not gonna edit this video. I'm just gonna just talk, and then whatever. It doesn't matter. This is just a get to know me. I'm not gonna edit it and make myself look any sort of way because that's not me. Um, I don't want you to hang out with me thinking that I'm something that I'm not. What you see is what you get, and acceptance. I think that's important to accept everyone for who they are. Um, so I'm not gonna edit this video. It's getting posted, and whether you like it or not, whatever. I probably could do a few things like tweaking out I could edit out the little pauses, but I'm not going to. Um, what else can we talk about? Pretty much you can see, you know, Pokemon. I love Pokemon. Zelda. I'm a Zelda man, and then here, yeah, I'm a Zelda fan. Uh, Minnesota Vikings fan, Skull Vikings. Also a Chicago Cubs fan. Why Chicago, Minnesota? You'll just have to come into my streams or comment on some videos and ask, and I'll tell you all about it. I have stories about I have stories about a lot of stuff. So I'm also looking at myself on the screen instead of looking up there because I can't look in one place. I have to look everywhere. Anyway, um, my family's awesome. My brother and sister are awesome. Uh, my mom's awesome. My dad, unfortunately, is not here anymore. He's not with us. That's a story for another time. Uh, but definitely something that shaped uh, the way that a lot of things in my life have kind of transpired and has changed my thinking on quite a few different things. But tragic accident, it's now's not the time to talk about that. That's the question that somebody can ask me later, and I'll tell them. I don't care. It's fine. Um, but this is about me. So, uh, Pokemon Zelda. I've actually behind me is my little foldable rig. I started uh driving on Gran Turismo 7, which I've met some nice gentlemen and ladies uh, through YouTube, and so that's become a new passion of mine. Um, One thing that a little milestone, kind of gold star, little thing that I am proud of when I have a wife, kids, career, house to take care of. Um, I've probably only sat and used that wheel for maybe 60 hours. Controller before I got the wheel, I may have played 40-ish hours of Gran Turismo 7 when I switched the wheel, and it was a week ago that there was a time trial at Red Bull Ring with Group 3 cars. So GT3s, and I love the Ford GT. So I used the Ford GT race car 2018. And I was going to get gold for that time trial no matter what it took. And after about 3 days and 8-ish hours, I finally got down to like a 131.2, which put me in gold with 1 day to go. And I said, okay, this is great. And I checked to see where I was at. Based on what vehicle I used, which was the Ford GT. And at that time, I think I was like 21st or so in the country, which is kind of cool. I think out of like 350-ish people that used the 4GT, I was the 20th fastest. I'm like, okay, cool. That's like I'm not gonna pretend like I'm good at the game because I'm absolute trash. But the fact that I was able to sit there and work and grind and get to that point, it was something that I could hold my head up about, something that I could be proud of. And then the next day I come home and I see that I dropped to silver because GT7 Poly Digital dropped the time down about, I think it was like half a tenth. So I said, I'm not going to let this go. I'm getting this done. It took me 6 hours to drop half a tenth because I think at that point, the number one globally in the GT was at like a 130.2, and I was like, I can't find much more here, but it took me about 6 hours to get that half a tenth. And then I let out a sigh of relief and I went to bed. I did everything I could, and that put me about 16th in the Ford GT, which that's something kind of cool. I think globally I was around 61st. I'm not specific. I am not quite sure, but I just gave myself a goal, and I went and got it, and I love it. I love driving the race cars. Um, I haven't done anything online because I wanted to wait specifically until I launched the channel to start doing live streams, doing the daily races, doing things like that. Uh, I also wanted to start a fresh account and go through and do, all the missions and the piddly stuff. And I just went black because I hadn't touched my mouse in a while. I really need to turn that off. Um, but anyway, going through the circuit experiences and doing those with everyone as a community, they can see it done live. They can go back and watch the VOD. Something fun to do. Um, I also plan on doing other video games every once in a while, but I think the main thing we'll probably do is Gran Turismo 7 for now. Um, Mecha Break came out today. Um, I have it downloaded. I played through the prologue missions, and it seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's a game that I've kind of been waiting for a while. So I have one of my buddies. Uh, he works third shift, and he was playing it until about nearly 11 o'clock. And I called him crazy and may have called him a few names because he was playing without me and didn't say he was playing. But I spent the morning with my family. My wife got off work this morning, and, she also works very, very hard, has a very mentally and physically demanding job, physically demanding a lot more than mine, uh, more often than mine, I should say. But, I work a rotational schedule. I am on first shift, which is, I'm happy about because of my kids. So, but she works 24-hour shifts, so she's a very hard worker. I'm very thankful for her. She's my rock, and I couldn't imagine doing life without her or my kids. But that 10% of that 10% of me still needs a place to where I can come sit down and enjoy other people. Enjoy other people, the games that are interesting us at the time. I want to form a community where we can all just be. We don't have to worry about anything that's going on other than what's going on right now. So, like I said, you can ask me questions. I have no problem answering them. But I think that's a very glossed over story of how I'm here, I guess. Like I said, I won't say what I do for a living right off the bat. It's not. I don't want to say my job's not great because then I like my job, but there's times where I have a hard time liking it, I guess. Um, but anyway, I can hear my oldest upstairs running around, so I might do a better version of this later, like maybe a condensed version, or I'll explain some more little things. But this is gonna be it, and I hate that camera. The camera my brother and sister bought me for Christmas about 4 years ago, and for whatever reason, it likes to glitch. But I don't know. I'll get it figured out. But as kind of like a starting point, a little bit of an introspection of who I am and why I'm here. Um, and I hope some people watch this and decide that they do, you know, want to see what I've kind of laid out, want to help build what my goal is, my ultimate goal. It's not for subs, it's not for likes, it's just to build a place where we can all come together and enjoy ourselves and indulge in games. Um, or other things. Who knows? We might just go out and I like to fish. That would be wild, a live fishing stream. But I'm going to go ahead and end this now while a spam caller is currently calling my phone and I had to mute him. Those spam callers, they suck. They're just incessant. Asking, do you have Medicare Part A or B? And I'm like, I'm not old enough for that yet. Can you not call me and ask? But anyway, thank you everyone on YouTube. That's pretty much all I have. That camera, I swear to God. Sorry. So, YouTube, see you later. Ask me questions. Stop in, leave comment. I'll be here. And I plan on being here for a while.